Welcome back to this lecture series titled Our Living National Constitution, Its History and Evolving Interpretation. I'm Edward J. Dodson. This is lecture 12, the final lecture in this series titled Will the Republic Survive? Challenges arose regarding Trump's eligibility for office under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which disqualifies individuals who have, quote, engaged in insurrection or rebellion from holding federal office after swearing an oath to support the Constitution. The U.S. Supreme Court ultimately ruled that states do not have the authority to disqualify candidates for federal office under this provision, emphasizing that it is Congress's role to enforce the clause through appropriate legislation. After a 5-day impeachment trial in the U.S. Senate during February of 2021, the vote was largely split along party lines, with 57 lawmakers voting to convict and 43 voting to acquit. On the 21st of July 2024, President Joe Biden faced the reality of his diminished capacity to govern and stepped aside in favor of Vice President Kamala Harris to head the Democratic Party's ticket against Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. Donald Trump and Vance emerged victorious with 312 electoral votes to the Harris-Walz total of 226. The Republicans won the popular vote with a plurality of just under 50%. Donald Trump promised he would usher in, quote, the golden age of America. On January 20th, 2025, upon taking office, Donald Trump signed Executive Order 14147 titled Ending the Weaponization of the Federal Government. Its stated purpose is to address concerns about the alleged targeting of political opponents through federal law enforcement and intelligence activities claimed to have occurred during the Biden administration. Other provisions directed the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission to stop pursuing administrative claims against employers for alleged disparate impact on employees. Additionally, homelessness was to be treated as a crime, and the homeless found to have substance abuse and mental health problems are to be institutionalized. An almost continuous stream of executive orders followed. On the same day, Trump ordered withdrawing the United States from the World Health Organization, ordered granting private access to federal lands for mining of coal and fossil fuels, ordered the elimination of subsidies for electrical vehicles, ordered the withdrawal of the Outer Continental Shelf from offshore wind leasing, ordered strong actions against illegal immigrants, and issued a hiring freeze for the federal government. He signed more than 70 executive orders by February 20th. By late July 2025, there were 298 active cases challenging the Trump administration's actions. The Institute for Policy Integrity at the New York University School of Law reported in July that the Trump administration has lost 79 of 85 cases involving federal agencies on deregulatory or policy issues. More than a few of these cases were brought on behalf of municipalities and organizations, successfully forcing the Trump administration to reverse course on illegal policymaking. Securing the borders with Mexico and Canada are top priorities for the Trump administration. While businesses and farms across the United States rely on non-citizen workers, there are legitimate reasons why the United States should bring an end to illegal entrance into the nation. The issues revolve around not only security, but humanity as well. Proclamation 10886 declared unauthorized migration into the United States to be a national emergency, described by President Trump as an invasion. Executive Order 14167 tasked the U.S. military with supporting border enforcement. The Department of Defense now has jurisdiction over federal lands and has established military-controlled zones where illegal migrants are detained. Border wall construction has accelerated. 7 miles of new barriers are being constructed in Texas at a cost of $70 million. To be fair, the Biden administration in 2023 proposed a 20-mile-long barrier in Starr County, waiving 26 federal laws protecting the environment. Border encounters with illegal migrants have been falling throughout 2024 and have continued to fall, with a 95% decrease between March of 2024 and March of 2025 to around 7,200. By mid-April of 2025, nearly 48,000 people were held in immigration detention by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. At the same time, as the previous slide indicates, the number of U.S. Customs and Border Protection arrests has fallen dramatically. There are an estimated 53.3 million foreign-born or immigrant members of the U.S. population, nearly 16% of the total population. The Center for Immigration Studies estimates there are 5.4 million illegal immigrants among the total. The timing of new immigrants shows the surge in immigration during the Biden administration. Consistent with the Trump administration's view that illegal immigrants equate to an invasion, the 1798 Alien Enemies Act has been invoked to expedite deportations of some illegals. The U.S. Supreme Court intervened, requiring individualized notice and an opportunity by the individual to contest removal. At the same time, the administration has eliminated the positions of a large number of immigrant court personnel, including some judges, reduced the Board of Immigration Appeals from 23 to 15 members, encouraged judges to dismiss asylum claims, and terminated federally funded legal services for unaccompanied migrant children. The administration tried to revoke some 1,500 student visas, imposed a travel ban to and from 43 countries, and is moving to end birthright citizenship for children of undocumented immigrants and certain non-citizens on temporary visas. This is blocked pending review by the U.S. Supreme Court. The administration has declared English to be the official language of the United States. This statement was issued by the administration on March 1, 2025. Quote, "Our nation's historic governing documents, including the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, have all been written in English. It is therefore long past time that English is declared as the official language of the United States." The U.S. Constitution vests the power to impose tariffs with Congress under Article 1, Section 8. This section grants Congress the power to, quote, "lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises," which includes tariffs on imported goods. While the Constitution grants this power to Congress, over time, Congress has delegated some of its tariff authority to the President through various laws. Soon after taking office, President Trump raised tariffs on imported steel and aluminum to 50% and introduced a 25% tariff on imported automobiles. He also announced a 50% tariff on copper and ordered investigations into pharmaceuticals, semiconductors, and other sectors to support future tariffs. On April 2, 2025, a day he called Liberation Day, Trump invoked the International Emergency Economic Powers Act to announce reciprocal tariffs on imports from all countries not subject to other sanctions. The U.S. Supreme Court, during its 2024-2025 term, decided cases involving birthright citizenship, gender-affirming medical care for transgender minors, guns, job discrimination, religious rights, online pornography, preventive health care, Planned Parenthood funding, federal regulatory powers on vape products and nuclear waste storage, voting rights, and more. Beginning in 1969, there have been several organized campaigns to eliminate the Electoral College and provide for the direct election of the president and vice president using the results of the national popular vote. The effort gained momentum after the 1968 election, in which Richard Nixon received just 43% of the popular vote, but 301 votes in the Electoral College. In April 1969, the House of Representatives passed a bill in support of the popular vote. The top Republican on the Judiciary Committee, William McCulloch of Ohio, stated the case. Anyone who subscribes to the neutral principles that government should be representative, that every vote should count, that individual voting power should be equal, that winners should be declared winners and losers should be declared losers, must also subscribe to the direct election proposal. Well, the measure never made it out of the Senate, where senators in states with small populations defended the Electoral College as consistent with the framers' design for a federal republic. In 2019, the Brookings Institution published an excellent paper by Brown University professor Darrell M. West on the framers' compromise that resulted in creation of the Electoral College and the subsequent problems this has created from time to time. Here is a link to this analysis. Here are a few excerpts that provide serious food for thought. Having a president who loses the popular vote undermines electoral legitimacy. Putting an election into the House of Representatives where each state delegation has one vote increases the odds of insider dealings and corrupt decisions. Allegations of balloting irregularities that require an electoral commission to decide the votes of contested states do not make the general public feel very confident about the integrity of the process, and faithless electors could render the popular vote moot in particular states. Yet there is a far more fundamental threat facing the Electoral College. At a time of high income inequality and substantial geographical disparities across states, there is a risk that the Electoral College will systematically overrepresent the views of relatively small numbers of people due to the structure of the Electoral College. As currently constituted, each state has 2 Electoral College votes regardless of population size, plus additional votes to match its number of House members. That format overrepresents small and medium-sized states at the expense of large states. With good reason, critics of the American system point to the preferential government policies favoring moneyed special interests and especially monopolies. The courts are the battleground, and language in the Constitution the basis for argument. A major court decision against monopolies occurred in 1968 in U.S. versus United Shoe Corp., in which it was ruled that a judge could, quote, terminate the illegal monopoly, deny to the defendant the fruits of its statutory violation, and ensure that there remain no practices likely to result in monopolization in the future. Where in the Constitution, one should ask, is there guidance? In the Commerce Clause, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3, quote, Congress has the power to regulate interstate commerce. In Article 1, Section 8, Clause 8 of the U.S. Constitution, Congress is granted the power to promote the progress of science and useful arts by securing for limited times to authors and inventors the exclusive right to their respective writings and discoveries. In August 2024, a federal judge ruled that Google violated antitrust laws by maintaining monopoly power in its search engine market. The case then entered a remedies phase to determine how to address the violations. The DOJ has proposed potentially forcing Google to sell off its Chrome browser and Android operating system and requiring it to share its search index and data with competitors. Google is appealing the ruling. And what's next? What is going to be coming at us next? What is written above is a state of affairs as of the end of July 2025. This lecture will be delivered in the classroom at the end of the fall semester at Temple University's Osher Lifelong Learning Institute. Between now and then, I am quite sure there will be additional material to present on the challenges posed to our living national constitution. I end this series of lectures with final observations by Professor Ganesh Sitaraman on the continuing decline of the middle class in the United States and what this means for the democracy. He writes, "For those on the losing end of the economy, both economic and political power seem out of balance. Everywhere people look, there seems to be evidence that the system serves to perpetuate the privileges of the economically powerful. And no matter who is in charge in Washington, it seems as if many of these policies never change." These two phenomena, the collapse of the middle class and America's increasingly rigid political system, are connected. But the truly terrifying thing is that they reinforce each other. As wealth is concentrated in the hands of elites and corporations, they use their wealth and influence to rewrite laws and regulations in ways that help them amass even greater wealth and power. The result is a downward spiral, a vicious circle in which economic inequality and the capture of the political system reinforce each other. This dynamic makes it more and more likely with each passing day that modern America is losing its character as a republic. And now we've reached the end of this series of lectures, and I thank you for staying with me all this way.